Greetings, folks. AnIolairGhorm here with a World of Warships replay, this time featuring myself in the premium Tier 6 German destroyer, the T-61. I am divisioned with Lynn Wilkie in the premium Tier 6 Japanese battleship, the Mutsu, and with Schepker in the Tier 6 Japanese battleship, the Fuso. We are in a domination match on Shards, and each team brings one Tier 7 aircraft carrier, 5 battleships, 3 cruisers, and 3 destroyers to the match. As far as ship upgrades and commander skills for this vessel, I take the hydroacoustic search special upgrade to extend the duration of the hydro consumable. And unlike other German destroyers, I take the propulsion modification 2 in slot 4, and I'll cover a little bit later here why that is. Commander skills, this is my standard mid and high tier German commander build. For destroyers, I take radio location for destroyer hunting, and I take superintendent and survivability expert to improve endurance and support late game activities. Highlights of this battle will obviously focus on the versatility of this destroyer. We'll talk about the importance of playing to the objective, taking and holding caps, and equally importantly, defending those gains and not overextending once you have them. And then lastly, we'll talk about persistence in the face of deficits, which will be an important matter in the outcome of this battle. So while I'm working on capturing the Bravo cap point, let me talk about the strengths and weaknesses of this destroyer. So as advertised in various videos and community contributor forums and posts and so on, this destroyer does indeed have a very good balance between its gun and torpedo systems. Its guns have a 4-second reload with decent range and decent arcs. The torpedoes reload in 68 seconds, which is very fast for a Tier 6 destroyer. They have an 8-kilometer range, and they go 65 knots and have reasonably decent concealment. This being a German destroyer, obviously it has the hydroacoustic search consumable, making this, as with most German destroyers, an excellent cap contester and DD hunter. This destroyer is particularly nimble for a German destroyer. So most German destroyers have relatively poor rudder shift, and so I'm generally compelled to take the steering gears modification 2 for the slot 4 upgrade for German destroyers. But with this destroyer, the rudder shift is less than 4 seconds, so I feel comfortable having the propulsion modification 2, which I usually prefer in slot 4 anyway, to give better off-the-line acceleration. The concealment of this destroyer is decent. It's not spectacular, but at 6.1 kilometers, it is certainly competitive, and it is definitely better than the 6.6 kilometer range or concealment range that the Geta has. And last point, which is entirely subjective, is that I think the camo looks really sharp and clean. It's a really good looking ship. So those are kind of the strengths and positive sides. Weaknesses, a couple of things to point out. This destroyer is not as stout as other German destroyers. It has about as many hit points with survivability expert as the Geta has without survivability expert. So it's not as it doesn't have the same endurance as much as other German destroyers. And I have also found that the engine on this destroyer gets knocked out more readily than other German destroyers, and that even considers the fact that I have the hydroacoustic search special upgrade in slot 2 instead of the propulsion systems modification 1 to reduce the chance that my engine gets knocked out. And then, as with all German destroyers, the alpha damage on the torpedoes is okay. It's not very good compared to definitely the Japanese, but because the torpedoes come up very often, it's not really that big of an issue. So let's get to the gameplay. So after having successfully secured Bravo, I'm going to stick around here to help defend this cap. Now, you'll see that our team did go to take Bravo and Charlie, but for whatever reason, our allied Mahan, which you can see in the Delta 7 sector of the minimap, he did not go into Charlie to cap. He seems to be more intent on going and trying to get alpha damage. And so that cap, which normally is the easiest cap for the team on the North Spawn to capture, we don't have. And what's worse is that opposing ships, including the Scharnhorst that I'm now sending torpedoes on, have moved into Bravo to defend or contest the cap, excuse me. So I have to stick around here and try to keep them out of the cap, or at least keep getting the reset so they don't get it. Our allied Omaha here is wildly overextended, and as expected was taken out. We did lose the Mahan that didn't go to Charlie. We've also lost, or I'm sorry, we lost one other destroyer, not the Mahan, a different destroyer. And we've lost a Furutaka. So we are already down 3 ships to their 1. We still control Bravo. I'm going to get 3 torpedoes on the Scharnhorst here. And then I'm going to smoke up, but then realize that he's actually flooding out. So this is a little bit of a waste of a smoke. But he's going to end here on flooding in just a moment. The opposing Leningrad is also on Bravo, so I need to try to defend against his engagement in this cap. There goes the Scharnhorst. I do have the hydroacoustic search obviously up, so that if he does send torpedoes, which frankly I was expecting, but I don't think he does, I'm able to avoid those torpedoes. And you can see that we still don't have Charlie. Now, we have a number of ships, including Schepker, that are on the north side of Charlie, and that's typically not a good position for teams to be able to support taking and holding Bravo and Charlie. But in this case, the positioning is kind of necessary because the opposing team has sent 2 capital ships up the far eastern flank of the map and are putting pressure on our carrier. And so there's some need to defend that flank, but frankly, again, it's not really playing to the objective for either team. But Schepker's making a logical choice here to help defend the carrier from the encroachment of these 2 capital ships that are on the 10 line. Again, Bravo, the opposing Leningrad is moved back into Bravo. He will get the cap here before I'm able to get back into it. So now we have no caps. Obviously the opposing team had captured Alpha some time ago, and so has been getting points on that. We are now, we're down 1 ship, but we're down fairly significantly on points because we don't have any caps under our control that we're getting points from. I get detected here by the opposing Emerald, but realize that I'm just about to get out of detection, and so I elect not to fire. Here the Leningrad picks me up again. Again, I'm going to hold my fire here because I don't have quite enough support for the number of ships, opposing ships that are near Bravo, to be able to open up. We lose another ship. So right now things are becoming fairly desperate. We don't control any caps. The opposing team has control over 2 caps, and they have a 2-ship lead on us. So Lynn and I are in conversation, and we've decided that we've got to push back into Bravo, get the cap. He and there's a couple other battleships that are with me here on the north side of Bravo. There goes the Emerald. So our battleships on this side are starting to take out some of the opposing ships here. And in fact, you can see the low health Omaha will get taken down here shortly. But we've lost the Lyon, and we've lost our aircraft carrier. So we have a very significant ship deficit now, I believe 3. We've moved back into Bravo. I'm detected here by the airplanes. I know the Arizona is targeting me. I'm trying to keep a broadside so that he gets mostly overpens. He's going to take one more. I think he fires one more salvo on me here, yes. And so Lynn and I are now going to move toward the Arizona to get him out of the match, because that will allow us to secure Bravo and get a cap back. You can see on the north side of the map there is an opposing destroyer. Actually, in fact, there are 2 opposing destroyers, a Geta and a Moss, that are hunting our allied Leander, as well as Schepker in the Fuso. So we're in a pretty weak position right now. We just secured the Bravo cap again. I can tell, obviously, the Arizona is not targeting me. I'm on the opposite side of where his guns are pointed, and it takes forever for the for the battleship to move his guns, so he's not going to turn his guns towards me. He's got them aimed at Lin in the Mutsu. I'm holding my fire here just a little bit because I want to figure out where the Arizona is going to commit to. Obviously, he knows I'm here. He's being careful about how he commits to any sort of turn. But I am going to get, I believe, 3 torpedoes here on the Arizona and take out the remainder of his health. So I had planned on sending the next set, but Lin, being in the Mutsu, also has torpedoes, and so he's in a clear advantage here. Lin and I agree that he's going to finish off the Arizona. I'm going to go work on getting the Alpha cap. I can see here the opposing aircraft carrier. There goes the Arizona. Now the aircraft carrier is going to go after mainly Lin, although he is going to try a few drops on me as well as this match progresses. In fact, here comes the first of, I believe, 3 drops that the aircraft carrier attempts on me. And here's an example of where I think the rudder shift on this German destroyer is good out of the box and doesn't require buffing with the steering gears modification. So that definitely works to my advantage. I was able to avoid that drop, and he will have at least 1 or maybe 2 more drops on me before the battle is out. So I'm going to put some fire on the opposing carrier here. We now have gotten a ship lead. So in all the mayhem that was going on in the north and with us in the middle of the map, the opposing team has lost a lot of ships. Their 2 destroyers made the choice to go after our ships that were in the north. And so rather than defending the caps that they had, because they had Alpha and Bravo, they could have just fallen back and held those caps. And even if we got Charlie, they could have controlled this match for a win. But they overextended. And so now we have the ship advantage. We are still behind in points because they've held caps for much longer than we have. I'm going to move into Alpha here to take this cap. And then my intention is after I get this cap, I will go and finish off the aircraft carrier. The Leningrad is still in play, as is a New York. And you can see those, they are on the 7 and 8 line. So again, this is a good example of why it's important to take and control objectives, because again, the opposing team, even though they have a ship deficit, do have a point lead because for how long they held the caps, but now they have lost the advantage because they overextended and didn't control the caps that they did have. They did get Charlie, I think simply by virtue of at least one of their ships sailing through it. But the 2 caps that they originally held, Alpha and Bravo, they have now lost. So now that I've secured Alpha, I'm going to come out here and work on finishing off the carrier. This is actually the better of the ships for me to go after because and in fact, here's the next drop from the aircraft carrier. I'm going to be able to dodge these torpedoes. It kind of feels like he was doing automated drops. I'm not sure, given the placement of the torpedoes, but either way, I was able to avoid those torpedoes. We lose Lin because he was the target of the aircraft carrier and the destroyer and the battleship on the opposing team. My torpedo send missed. It was really a pretty poor angle because it was a ship that was sailing away from me. So I had not expected to necessarily get a hit, and he was able to avoid the torpedoes. It's going to take me a few more salvos and we'll put the aircraft carrier down here. Here comes the next drop. Here I want to slow and turn in. And so I avoid that drop as well. Does try to get a bomb drop on me, but because I had turned, I think he didn't time his bomb drop very well. Plus RNG doesn't play well with bomb drops sometimes, so he didn't get me with any damage. Here comes another drop. He's obviously desperate to get me down as I'm hunting him. And now you can notice that they've evened up the ship count. The opposing team has evened up the ship count with us, and they still hold a lead of more than 200 points. But now our team has finally secured all caps, so the opposing team is not getting any caps. And at the rate that you gain points once you have all cap points, things go, your point advance is pretty rapid here. In fact, we've already narrowed the gap to less than 100 points. Here is his final attempted drops from the carrier. We lose the Leander from the New York. Again, now we are even on ships again. The opposing team has regained the lead. And now that I've avoided the final drop from the aircraft carrier, I'm going to move back and try to defend the caps that we have. My main concern at this point is actually the Leningrad, because he is a much better gunboat in the right hands than I would be. And so if I were to run into him, he could finish me off fairly quickly. The New York I'm a little less concerned about because I can stealth torp him with relative ease. And now my other concern is that I'm currently detected by the remaining airplanes from the opposing carrier that are still flying around the point where he was sunk. And I will continue to be lit up here for the next minute or so, and the opposing New York will target me occasionally while I'm being detected. Schepker is still alive with us. He's a very skilled player as well, so I'm unsurprised by his survival here. He is probably mostly concerned about the Leningrad, because the Leningrad is able to stealth torp. Leningrad, we now know, is in Bravo because the Bravo cap is being taken. We are just about to take the point lead, and with just a couple of minutes remaining in the match. There we have just taken the lead. Now we can see the Leningrad as well. He's fairly low in health. I'm contemplating an ascent here, but I've been able to tell that, and now I'm detected. I'm within the detection range of the New York, and he is now targeting me. So I'm trying to do a little wiggle waggle here and turning out so that he gets nothing but overpens when his shells come in. He's obviously maneuvering to anticipate my torpedoes. I have obviously not sent on him, you know that, but he doesn't. So I'm going to smoke up here, light up my hydro, make sure that he stays lit up. There you can see a set of torpedoes that were sent by Leningrad. And now that the New York has committed to a turn, I'm going to send one set here. Now the New York is a very slow battleship. I expect that he probably will still attempt to turn out. But given his relatively slow speed, my torpedoes will connect with him here, and I will finish off the battleship. Now we move towards Bravo. If you look at the time, we have about 90 seconds left. The Leningrad is very low health. So I will look to keep the Leningrad spotted while Schepker puts fire on the Leningrad, although the Leningrad is keeping himself lit up by firing. Schepker is firing HE as he should on the destroyers. He gets a couple of salvos on, or a couple of shells on, but it's not quite enough to finish off the Leningrad. You can see a lot of comments in chat, including from the opposing team, about a nice close match, and it was a good game. So yes, it definitely was a good game, and they are a lot of fun if they are well played on both sides, or equally played, even if some play from some players are better than others, but nonetheless it's enjoyable to have a nice close match like this. We're winding down to the last 30 seconds. We have a commanding lead now, although it took us a lot of effort to get there. I've done quite a bit of damage. This is actually my highest damage game so far in the T-61 as of the date when this happened in late August. But I didn't earn any achievements, which is a little odd. But glad that I was able to help turn this game around. Ticking down the last few seconds, I send torpedoes, but obviously they're not going to hit anything because the time's going to run out. and we win the match. So a very exciting match. I come in top XP for our team with a few kills and certainly a decent amount of damage and some decent XP. So yeah, the T-61 is definitely a very capable destroyer. It's a lot of fun to play, and I hope you enjoyed the replay and commentary. Please do leave your comments below, and as always, we hope to see you out there and wish you happy sailing.